The fact that KB is still with Edmond, episode 9, she hasn't bounced, diabolical. She has more patience than me. I'll tell you that right now because this is crazy. Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I will be talking about Love is Blind, episode 9. Guys, a lot happened in this episode, okay? So let's jump right in. So the episode starts out and Jordan is showing Megan the disgusting smoothie that he makes every morning. And it made me remember that during the cast reveal, there was a guy that had in his bio that every morning he makes a chicken breast smoothie and that he doesn't know if there's a girl that's going to be okay with that or something. And I completely forgot about that, guys. It's Jordan. Jordan is the one making these smoothies in the morning. So you see him take a smoothie out take the chicken breast out and it's uncooked. He's adding some other things to it, blends it up, drinks it, tells Megan to try it. Obviously Megan is like, what the actual F? How do you drink this every morning? And, Jordan says something like it has 55 grams of protein and not a whole lot of calories, and he gets it in first thing in the morning. And I'm thinking there are other ways to get protein that are not as painful as doing that every morning. And at one point, Jordan kind of flexes his muscles to kind of show okay, he's showing Megan this is how I stay, in good shape. And I'm thinking, I don't want to be mean, guys, but there was not much there when he was flexing. For somebody that's drinking something that disgusting every day, every morning, first thing that hits your stomach, you would think that he would look more shredded and more cut, if you know what I mean. I mean, he looks good. Don't get me wrong now. I'm not body shaming, but I'm just saying that is a lot of torture to go through every single morning. And I did expect him to look a little bit more swole. I guess I'll use that word, more swole for what he's putting his body through. Somebody help Jordan out. Give him a recipe. Let him know that there are other ways to get your protein. He don't have to do all this, okay? Somebody help Jordan out. Okay, then we go to KB and Edmond. And Edmond got KB a pair of roller skates, which was a really cute gift. Obviously, we know Edmond likes to roller skate. So he's thinking, this is something I love. He probably wants KB to be able to do this and share it with him. I don't, for me, I'm so scared of hurting myself. Yeah, but I guess, it's a very cute gift. And hopefully Edmond could teach KB how to roller skate. We'll see. Maybe that's something that they could be doing together. So that was cute. Then we see Jordan and Megan and they're house hunting, right? Megan wants to sell her house in LA and she's thinking of she wants to buy a house now in Denver. So we see Megan say that some of the things she requires in a home is that there needs to be at least 3 bedrooms and a home office, and she would like it to be within the price range of 1.2 million to 1.5 million. Okay. Now, I guess I'm confused because I'm you're buying a house in Denver, Colorado. To my knowledge, Denver, I don't think is as expensive as living in New York City or Los Angeles or any of these big major cities, right? So why is her budget so high? I low-key feel that is a high budget for the area. Let me know if you guys agree. Is Denver expensive? Because I didn't expect her to have such a high budget. Okay, you need 3 bedrooms. You want a home office. She's not asking for too much. 1.5 is high. Even 1 million is high. They could definitely find something within what Megan is looking for that's still nice for a lower price range, right? So once again, I don't really know why. It's crazy. To me, it's a little high for what she's looking for. And the fact that they're searching in Denver, Colorado, right? So I don't know if Megan is feeling she has to show her big balls again and show that, impress Jordan. I don't really know with such a high budget to let him know that she's really got it like that. It's strange to me. I think they could find something that's a little bit lower within their budget. And I think it would also make Jordan feel better about their abilities to finance some of that home, right? I know her name is Sparkle Meg, and I'm in no way telling Megan that she needs to lower her standards because she's with Jordan. But I'm just saying that for searching in Denver, Colorado, Denver is not Los Angeles. It's not. They're not the same. Okay, like at all. So she could lower that a little bit, in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. So that's what I'm saying. But so yeah. Then we see that Megan says she's obviously okay with putting down a majority of the money towards this home. And she was thinking that her and Jordan could finance like $500,000 of what's left to pay that home off. In my mind, I thought that sounded pretty fair, and it sounded like something that they could realistically do. I don't really know how much Jordan makes. I know he's kind of in more like a blue collar type of line of work, but I thought that that sounded reasonable. So one thing I will say is I really worried that once Megan and Jordan got out of the pods and into the real world and got to this point where they're making decisions, especially about finances, that we would see Megan have more issues with like Jordan maybe not being able to step up financially in some ways. But what I will say I do like about what I'm seeing between Megan and Jordan is Megan is not making him feel weird about where he is financially. And I really like that because I think Megan is very aware that she made this choice. You know, Jordan is not Mike, right? And she's like, I know where Jordan is financially. I know why I decided to commit to this person. So she's okay with Jordan meeting her where he's at, if that makes sense. And she's not belittling him. She's not making him feel like he's not doing enough or he doesn't make enough. Like, I'm not seeing any of that. And I'm happy to see that because I feel like I am seeing a way that they could come to some compromise on things, and that is a good thing to see from them. So we see that Annie ends up meeting Nick's family for the first time. Nick's mom lets Annie know that Nick is very sensitive and that he always has been ever since he was a little boy. As Nick's mom is telling Annie this, I don't know why, but the camera kind of went to Nick, and I low-key felt like he didn't want his mom to say that, or he didn't want to admit that. I don't know how to explain it. He had a strange facial expression on, like this is something he didn't want people to know. That's kind of what I thought. Maybe I'm reading into it too much, but I could see how Nick is very sensitive, you know. Basically, you know, Nick's family really liked Annie. It seemed like Annie got along well with them. So that's that. All right, then we see the Pop Squad and everybody ends up meeting up for the first time after like we kind of got out of everything in terms of the pods. So we see Megan and she says that she got to meet Luca's mom and that it went very well, right? She says that the one thing that I think Luca's mom and Jordan were worried about is they don't want to put Luca on screen. So essentially Megan is still planning to meet Luca, but it's probably something that's going to happen off camera. I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't think that's something that needs to be televised. So Megan seems at ease after having met Luca's mom. I know that she was really nervous about that. So it seems like it went well. Okay. So then we go to Allie, right? And we see Allie talking to some of the girls and she brings up that Anton used to frequent strip clubs, you know, before getting into this experiment, right? And Anton told Allie that he hasn't been to a strip club in a year. Guys, I just know Anton is lying. I just know he's lying based on having met his friend, right, in the previous episode and what his friend's girlfriend was saying about their escapades. I know it has not been a year since Anton has been to a strip club. He's just saying that because he doesn't want Allie to freak out, right? But he was probably there, if anything, a couple months ago. Don't ask me how I know, but I just know he's not being honest. I just know he's not being honest because he knows that if he says he was there 2-3 months ago, Allie would be very disappointed and probably worried, right? So Allie wasn't really happy to even know that Anton ever went to strip clubs. And I understand how Allie feels because the sentiment around strip clubs and how women are viewed and like the type of man that goes into that environment, I just feel like they're never really giving like marriage material, if you know what I mean. So Allie is now wondering, you know, is Anton serious about this commitment, right? She's questioning these things. And I think she's so fair to question these things. I'd be saying the same thing. Like, is Anton really ready, right? Because people will say, oh, I've changed, I've left this behind, but I don't know. I really don't know. So Allie also mentioned something else. And this, I think, bothered me probably even more than hearing about him going to strip clubs in the past, okay? And she basically is telling the girls that Anton, after he works his night shift, comes back in the morning. Every morning he has a beer or two, basically. Like 2 beers every morning. And I'm like, every day? Every day and in the morning? To me, that just sounds like, what are you trying to drown? What are you trying to cope with? Why do you have to do that every day? Ugh, and I know some people will probably say this isn't a big deal because I feel like drinking is so normalized in a lot of ways. And some people just have a drink every time they have dinner or every day when they're having lunch, or like they just have, you know, it's like, I don't know. I feel like everybody has different relationships with these things. But personally, I don't think I would want to be with someone that's drinking beer in the morning every day. No, it's not giving. Like, and the thing about life is, I feel like people will often kind of brush over things and say, hey, you know, it's just something I like to do, da, 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 da. But like alcohol, drugs, these are all, okay, I'll say this. Alcohol, drugs, sex, all slippery slopes. These are all things that I think can become addictions, right? So you have to be careful. I just don't want to be with someone who feels like they have to be drinking in the morning every day. I don't know about that. So, I mean, I'm right there with Allie. I would be worried. I would be really kind of figuring out if this person is my person, because whatever she's seeing now, trust and believe that if she decides to marry Anton, it only gets worse. It only gets worse. It never gets better. Okay. So she's now kind of thinking like, is this guy really my guy? Right. Okay. So then we see Patrick, right? And we haven't seen Patrick, right, since the big breakup with Casey, right? When Casey was doing her theatrics, right? Pretending like she wanted to see him and all that. We haven't seen him since then. So we see Patrick with all the guys, and we see Patrick telling the guys that he wanted to meet up with Casey basically immediately after they got back from Denver, or got back to Denver after filming. And he wanted to even talk to her on the phone, and that she was just saying she wasn't ready. Like she was just kind of pushing it off. And I think he said that another thing that he didn't like is Casey didn't even give back the ring. You know, Patrick asked for the ring back. Casey didn't even give that back. And I'm like, why would Casey keep this ring? What is the reason? It's kind of giving sketchy, and it's making me think, is she trying to go pawn this ring? Because what would she need that ring for? You don't want this man. Give him back the ring. I did not know that up till now, Casey has not given Patrick back the ring. Like, and this is what I'm saying. Like Casey, I just feel like every time I hear about her, it's like she's not doing herself any justice. We're in episode 9, and Casey is still just acting sketchy, just scummy. Like, what are we doing? Where is the character? Where are the morals? Where are the values? Why are you treating people this way? What is going on? I know that things are inflated and prices are getting high. I don't know if she's going through a hard time. I don't know, but why would you keep that ring? It's making me think she's trying to use that ring for compensation. Maybe her rent is due. Who knows? But once again, Casey's just questionable. Like, what is going on here? Hasn't Patrick been through enough? Give the man back his ring. For the love of God, give it back. It's just too much. Am I surprised to hear this? No, because based on all the behaviors we've seen from Casey, no matter what she says, I know she did an interview recently talking about how she didn't regret anything, talking about how she felt like she was second choice, almost like trying to justify some of her behavior by realizing she was second choice to Anna. No, we're not going to do all that. She's just character-wise, I'm sorry, she's trash. Okay. Something's not right there. Something's not right there. I didn't like that. Give Patrick back this ring. Okay, so we also see Brendan, and he's acting like, he still has feelings for Annie, and that they still had something there. Brendan is a bad actor because the guy is giving nothing. Even after showing up now, episodes and episodes and episodes later with the Pop Squad, he's still giving nothing. It's just like watching paint dry. The guy is so boring. I don't see the passion. I don't see, emotions. No, there's nothing there. And when Annie sees Brendan, she knows she made the right decision by choosing Nick, right? Because she's like, this guy is still giving me nothing. Just like he was giving me nothing in the pods, it continues, right? And we also see like some of the Pop Squad and some of the couples, right, that got engaged even say that when they see Nick and Annie together, they're like, this makes sense. So even the people that were rooting for Brendan initially, right, and wanted Brendan to get that engagement have changed their minds and said, nope, actually, when I see Nick and Annie, they're both kind of quirky. I see it. It makes sense. So that's that. Then we see Mike, okay? And Mike decides that he wants to have a conversation with Megan, right? And the first thing he asks Megan is, do you want to dance? Megan is obviously like, no, I don't want to dance. I don't know who Mike thinks he is, Dr. Smooth out here. Like, literally her fiance is a couple feet away. Why is she going to be dancing with you? Mike, I don't understand who he thinks he is, but he's not who he thinks he is. He's not. Like, go sit somewhere, Mike, please. Okay, then they sit down, they're talking, and Mike asks Megan if she got the emerald cut, ring that she wanted. And Megan says, oh no, they didn't have it or something. And Mike says that he would have gotten it for her. Am I surprised? No, because once again, Mike is leading with his money. That's all he has to lead with, because there's nothing else he can offer anybody. He has to lead with the material. He has to lead with money. This is it, right? This is all Mike brings. And so basically, I think that Mike just can't stand that Megan chose Jordan. I think that it's bothering him. It's eating him up alive. He's thinking, why would she want this simple man? Why doesn't she want me with my jacuzzi and my house and all the things that I can give women? Like, he doesn't get it, right? And I think that Megan handled this situation amazingly, because she basically says to him that he was giving her cocky vibes and almost cheater vibes. And Megan is spot on, because that's exactly who Mike is, right? And this is exactly what she didn't want anymore, because this is what she dealt with outside of the pods. So, Megan, I'm proud of you. I'm very happy with how she dealt with that situation. I think that she didn't really entertain him at all, and she shut it down, and she basically confirmed that she made the right decision by choosing Jordan. So Megan, I was really, really happy with how she dealt with Mike, because Mike is exactly who she thought Mike was. And I know she's glad that she didn't go with that decision. So, okay, so we then see Anna and Patrick talking, right? So Anna is the one that left the experiment, and we see in interviews and stuff, she did I think she spoke to a magazine about it and basically said that she left because of her family. So Anna asked Patrick why he got engaged. Okay, Patrick responds and says that she was his number one, and that if she didn't leave, he basically would have chosen Anna, right? Anna asks, which I was like, Anna, big up for this question, because this is a good question. Anna says, why would you get engaged? She wants to know why Patrick got engaged if she was still in the back of his mind the whole time. Like, how is that fair to somebody else to get engaged when you're hung up on another girl, right? And I completely agree with this question. Patrick was not being true to himself by then continuing the experiment and choosing Casey, right? And to be honest, him not being true to himself is probably why things blew up in his face as much as it did, because he was never really acting out of genuine emotions for Casey. He was acting out of desperation, right? And desperate times lead to desperate measures, right? And yeah, so even Anna is looking at him like, how can I even trust that this person is really going to act in a sense of authenticity when she can tell that Casey was a backup. Nobody forced Patrick to get engaged to Casey. That was a choice, that he didn't have to make. He could have left the experiment just like Blake did. Blake leaving was Blake being true to himself, right? And even though Blake didn't get that engagement that he wanted, he was like, me being true to myself is more important than me just getting, engaged to somebody that I don't even have those feelings for, right? Patrick, take a page out of Blake's book, because Yeah, I like Patrick, but Patrick is also problematic. He's a little clown-like, right? Because it's like, why are you moving that way? So Anna seemed like she was almost doubting Patrick's feelings for her because she thought that his behavior after she left didn't really make sense if his feelings were so strong for her. So, all right. So we then go back to KB and Edmund, and Annie basically is saying something along the lines of, she says to Edmund that Nick is perfect in front of Edmund, right? And Edmund says that he wishes he received a comment like that about him. When he says this, KB overhears the conversation, and KB basically says, admire, but don't compare. Okay? So this is like a reoccurring thing with Edmund that we're finding out now, right? Where it's like, he's with, the other couples, he sees something, and he's then reflecting on his relationship thinking, why isn't this happening to me? Is Edmund okay, guys? Like, is he okay? Is this insecurity coming out? Like, what is going on? And he's also lying because KB has said some amazing things about him before. So I'm like, what are we doing here? And this is why, like, I at this point, whatever happens to KB is whatever, because KB should have been gone a long time ago. Edmund is a problem. Okay, somebody that compares themselves to other people this much will never be happy, because there's always going to be something else. They're going to say, "Oh wait, why don't you act like that? Why don't you look that way? Why aren't you like?" No, this could never work. This could never work. I mean, yeah, something's up with Edmund. I don't know what it is, but something's wrong. So we see Edmund then say to KB that there is nothing positive that KB says about him. Flat out lie, because we've seen it on camera. KB has complimented him before. So, I said this in the last few episodes. KB should have been gone after Edmund's first blow up, right? The night that he was crying about not being able to sleep with her. She should have left then. I've said this already, right? So anything else that's happening now with Edmund, we already know Edmund has issues. So KB gets annoyed, right? Because she's thinking, what kind of conversation is this? And she walks away. Edmund goes to find her. He says that he loves her. And KB responds and says she doesn't want to hear that right now, right? Because he's trying to glaze over the nonsense that he just said to her by saying, I love you. Like, we're not going to do that. And KB's frustrated because she's like, we actually need to discuss this. You can't just glaze over it by saying you love me. Nothing is getting solved. So the fact that KB is still with Edmund, episode 9, she hasn't bounced, diabolical. She has more patience than me. I'll tell you that right now, because this is crazy. Crazy. And I really don't know why KB is still here. I don't. Is it TV time? I'm starting to think that maybe there's something going on with KB that I don't know. Because what is happening? I don't get it. She's putting up with a lot from Edmund. And I don't know why, but I don't necessarily feel like she's putting up with this from Edmund because she loves him so much. I think there's something fishy happening because this is crazy. Okay, so then we go back to Nick and Kate, and they're talking, and Nick is saying he lived... Oh yeah, so Nick and Kate are talking, and Nick basically tells Kate he loved 2 people at the same time. Kate basically says that's BS, and I agree, because the way Nick fell out of love with Kate after realizing she wasn't religious, basically like that was scary. I don't really know if the love was ever really there as much as Nick would like to have us believe that it was there. I don't know. I thought that scene was strange, and I don't know how you just flip the switch and your love has disappeared and now you're in love with Annie. But okay. All right. So we see Joe and Jordan, and they're speaking about Nick and his lack of sex positions. One of them asks, basically they say something like, could Brendan lay it down harder than Nick can? And you see them laughing. And one of them says, yes, that Brendan could lay it down harder than Nick. Then they say that Nick doesn't, only has one position, and that's missionary. And they're like laughing. I don't even know what this conversation was. And to be honest, these guys are very strange, very, very strange. And it's making me start to wonder, let me not say what's on my mind. Maybe I shouldn't say it, because I'm like, why are they talking about another man's like sexual, like, I don't know. I find it so strange. I mean, I already know that Nick could be, gay, right? There's people are talking about it online. A lot of people are convinced he's not straight. I'm now starting to think about whether, Jordan and Joe are straight, because I don't understand why anybody would be concerned with another man's ability to lay it down in the bedroom. Do they want to be laid down by Nick? Because this is the strangest conversation I've ever heard in my life. Like, bizarre. You guys don't have other things to talk about? Why don't you talk about the relationships you're in right now? This is what Joe is concerned with? I don't know. Very bizarre. So, I have nothing else to say about that. So we go back to Kate and Madison. We see that they're talking, and Madison says that everyone hates Nick and they think that he's fake, basically. And I think that there is something up with Nick. I don't really know what it is, but there's something about his ability to switch so quickly with his emotions that freaks me out a little bit, right? And I think that sometimes he says things with such emotion, but I still feel like I don't really believe him, right? And it makes me wonder, I wouldn't trust Nick, is what I'm trying to say. I think that he's a hard one to trust. He's a little tricky as a person, right? And I think other people are picking up on this energy from Nick, where they don't necessarily believe what he does and says. Like, there's a fakeness to him. And I agree with that, and I think they're just picking up on the same thing. So we also see Madison, and she's basically telling Kate that Joe said that he, can't wait to put a baby in her or something like that. And they're laughing and kikiing, and Kate is like, oh my God, that's so hot. And they're laughing. And I'm thinking in my head, like, oh God. I mean, I'm happy that Madison is happy, but I just know that eventually all this laughing will turn into tears for Madison. So I'm just waiting for the tears that are to come in the coming episodes at this point. And as Madison is saying this and they're laughing and stuff, we see Joe is basically downing shots at the bar. So, this is the man that she's so excited about, that wants to put a baby in her. He's a baby himself, but he wants to put a baby in Madison. So I just know that this couple is not going to work. There's going to be more tears from Madison. So I'm just going to be prepared for that. We all know that that's coming, and probably more apologizing from Joe as well. So that's how that episode ends. We will see what happens. Please like, comment, and subscribe, guys. The next couple episodes come out next week, I believe on the 15th, and I will be reviewing those as well. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe at the bell, turn on the post notifications, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.